At first glance, Lord of the Mysteries does not look like cosmic horror. It looks like fantasy. Secret organizations, mystical pathways, ancient artifacts, Victorian streets. A clever protagonist learning how a hidden world works. But the deeper you go, the less it feels like fantasy, and the more it starts feeling like Lovecraftian horror. Not because it copies tentacles, not because it throws random monsters at you, and not because it simply borrows the names of old gods. It feels Lovecraftian for a deeper reason. Because beneath all the mystery, power, and world building, Lord of the Mysteries keeps returning to one terrifying idea. The universe is older, darker, and less human than you can survive knowing. That is the first thing people often get wrong about Lovecraftian horror. They think it is just about monsters. But real cosmic horror is not just about seeing something ugly or bizarre. It is about realizing that reality itself is built on truths your mind was never meant to hold. It is the fear that human beings are small, that knowledge is dangerous, that the gods are not wise fathers watching over you, but alien powers so vast that your suffering barely matters. And that is exactly the kind of fear Lord of the Mysteries understands. Because the deeper you move into its world, the less stable everything becomes. Welcome to Eastern and Western Legends. Here, we explore together the most mysterious myths, legends, and epic stories from both East and West. At first, power feels almost exciting. You learn about beyonders, pathways, sequences, mysticism, hidden history. It feels like discovery, like a mystery begging to be solved. But then the novel starts twisting that feeling into something much darker. Because in this world, knowledge does not simply make you stronger. It also makes you vulnerable. Every step upward reveals something bigger than you expected, something older, something less human. And every layer of truth feels less like enlightenment and more like contamination. That is one of the most Lovecraftian things in the entire story. In many fantasy worlds, hidden knowledge is treasure. In Lord of the Mysteries, hidden knowledge is often closer to poison. The more you understand, the more you risk losing control. You are not just climbing toward power, you are climbing toward things that can distort your body, fracture your mind, and erase the version of reality you thought was safe. That is pure cosmic horror. Because the fear is no longer just physical, it becomes existential. You are no longer asking, "Can I defeat the monster?" You are asking, "What happens to me if I understand too much?" And once a story starts asking that question, it stops feeling like ordinary fantasy. It starts feeling like a world where truth itself is predatory. That is where Lord of the Mysteries becomes so disturbing. Its gods and higher beings do not feel like traditional mythological deities. They feel less like characters and more like disasters. That is especially important when people start comparing the original creator to something like Azathoth. Whether or not you think that comparison is exact, it reveals something real. The original creator does not feel like a normal creator god. He does not feel warm. He does not feel orderly. He does not feel like the beginning of a comforting universe. He feels catastrophic. He feels like the kind of origin that should never have been exposed. And that is deeply Lovecraftian. Because in cosmic horror, the greatest terror is often not that evil exists. It is that reality itself may come from something profoundly inhuman. Something blind, something fractured, something so far beyond morality that calling it good or evil no longer makes sense. That is why the strongest moments in Lord of the Mysteries do not just make the world feel dangerous, they make it feel unstable. As if civilization, reason, and identity are only thin layers stretched over something ancient and terrible. And that is another reason the novel feels so close to cosmic horror. The world is not threatened only by monsters hiding in dark corners. The world itself seems to rest on hidden foundations that are already wrong. That is a very different kind of fear. A werewolf is scary because it can kill you. A ghost is scary because it might haunt you. But cosmic horror is scary because it suggests the universe is built in a way that does not care whether human beings can bear the truth. That is what Lord of the Mysteries keeps hinting at. The higher you climb, the less human the world becomes. The more powerful the beings, the less they feel like protectors. And the deeper the truth, the more it threatens not just your life, but your ability to remain yourself at all. That is why the novel's horror feels so effective. It is not loud horror. It is not constant shock. It is pressure, the pressure of hidden systems, hidden gods, hidden histories, hidden truths. The pressure of realizing that every answer leads upward into something colder and less understandable than the last. And this is where Lord of the Mysteries does something especially interesting. It does not simply imitate Lovecraft. It translates that kind of horror into a different storytelling tradition. Instead of making the whole story about helpless collapse, it mixes cosmic dread with progression, mystery, occult structure, and strategic survival. That is why it feels unique. The protagonist is not just a victim staring into madness. He is trying to survive, think, adapt, and climb. But that does not remove the horror. If anything, it sharpens it, because now the climb itself becomes terrifying. Power is not just power, it is exposure. Advancement is not just growth, it is risk. And the question is no longer, can I become stronger? It becomes, what will still be human in me if I do? That is one of the darkest questions in the entire novel, and it is also one of the reasons English-speaking readers so often describe Lord of the Mysteries as Lovecraftian. Not because it looks exactly like the Cthulhu mythos, but because it understands the same emotional architecture, the fear of forbidden knowledge, the terror of non-human divinity, the instability of reality, the smallness of man, the possibility that the deeper truth is not liberating, but annihilating. So why does Lord of the Mysteries feel like Lovecraftian horror? Because underneath the fantasy, underneath the pathways, underneath the mysteries and secret societies, it keeps returning to the same unbearable possibility, that the universe is not meant for us, that the gods are not here to save us, and that the deeper we stare into reality, the more likely it is to stare back as something ancient, inhuman, and impossible to survive unchanged. That is what makes Lord of the Mysteries more than just fantasy. It is fantasy built on cosmic dread, a world where knowledge can corrupt, gods can feel like disasters, and truth itself may be the most dangerous thing of all. So if you have ever wondered why this series feels so different, why it feels heavier, stranger, and more disturbing than a normal fantasy story, that is why. It does not just give you mystery, it gives you the fear that mystery is the real shape of the universe. So do you think Lord of the Mysteries truly feels Lovecraftian? Or do you think it creates its own kind of cosmic horror? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy mythology, cosmic horror, gods, monsters, and the darker meanings hidden inside legendary worlds, subscribe to the channel, because this is exactly the kind of story we explore here.